Warning, there will be some spoilers in this video. Please enjoy. Hello everyone, this is Dragon Videos, ready to take on a brand new topic for this video. And joining me is Cinnamon.
Hello!
Now, as you all know, as of recently, there's been a lot of remakes going on. Both of them can be good and they can be bad. In this case, Disney has been the most notorious company that's been going on remake upon remake upon remake. So for this list, I decided to pick at least 6 live-action Disney remakes that I thought were worth mentioning and how good they were, based on whether it's the plot or something that really makes the film attractive is where I'm gonna go through this list. Thankfully though, there aren't too many remakes being put into the process. But anyway, enjoy, relax, and have some fun with this list. What are you talking about, Sid? Before I knew live-action remakes were a thing, 101 Dalmatians, this version, was practically the first one that ever introduced me to the old 101 Dalmatians. And it was pretty good.
Dragon? You're not putting us on the list because of the Cruella de Vil movie, right?
No, Cinnamon, I did not do it because of a Cruella film. I actually picked this film because it was a very interesting one. It definitely sticks true to the story, as well as the fact that Glenn Close is an amazing Cruella de Vil. Don't get me wrong, there's probably others out there, I can't name a few at the moment, but Glenn Close definitely brings out the more eerie side to Cruella. I mean, even with that tiger scene, oh my god, it just gives off more depth to the creepiness that Cruella possessed. I mean, even when she pulled that mirror on the wall and made that dead tiger talk, oh yes, that definitely shows that she is not normal. And give it up for Glenn Close to also throw off that incredible, frightening laugh. Putting that aside, I do appreciate that they still hold on true to the dedication of this remake of holding on to the original story from the previous film of 1967, I believe. Anyway, this also shows that the animals could be expressive up to the point where it feels like they're still dogs, but they can be expressed in a way. As well as it gives you such appreciation for the Dalmatians. I mean, they are just so adorable. There's still little CGI moments when you see their emotions, but they still are able to convey the sadness, the anger, or their concern whenever Cruella comes into the room, as well as everything else. One of the things that I feel like is so important about this film is the way they do a lot of live animals compared to the CGI mess that we had to deal with. Anyway, with the live animals, we definitely had a very interesting concept. In the old version, there was only the cat trying to rescue the puppies. But in this one, this was more like involving all the farm animals to help out. And try to make sure that Cruella is kicked out of the country. I feel like this could give off more depth of how the farm animals that live by DeVille Manor are just fed up with her and just want nothing more to kick her out, as well as like it just gives more ideal that the Animal Kingdom just really hates Cruella. So overall, I feel like this was a fantastic film, but I put it high up on this list is because there's still more to go over that are a little bit different in the story, but something very interesting to look at in terms of how they handle the story. So yeah, even though the Aladdin 2019 wasn't perfect, at least give them credit for at least trying to put in the effort into several things in this film that they never have been addressed in the old Aladdin. For example, there was a song in the intro, Arabian Nights, that introduced all the characters greatly. Like we have Jasmine, we have the Sultan, we have Jafar, as well as it's beautifully done at a bird's eye view. Not only that, but we got to see more of the lyrics in Arabia is more of many cultures and tongues, marketing stalls, as well as just the enchanting instead of desert, sand, oh look, more desert. Anyway, I also appreciate them trying to make the human relationship in Jasmine and Aladdin. Like in the old one, they definitely come off as being extremely cozy throughout the beginning of the film. Well, aside from the Ali Baba incident. But in this version, there's a little bit more awkwardness and more human interaction. I mean, true, Jasmine's a princess, but they're both teenagers for crying out loud. The romance between them was going to be awkward, and it's going to be different, especially considering the fact that Aladdin was an outcast all his life. Compared to the old version, he was a bit more confident. Anyway, with this one, you also appreciate the song Speechless, which definitely represented Jasmine as a whole, not only as her struggles of being the only daughter, as well as dealing with multiple suitors, but also just ruling a country on her own terms. I also appreciate in this film that they address more of the magic concepts with this film. Many of you who have seen Watch Mojo would probably understand where I'm going with this. Anyway, it focuses more about how the genie does his 3 wishes. He explains to Aladdin that even though he does the 3 wishes with a few exceptions, he has to choose his words carefully, which makes me appreciate it more because it definitely shows more of the complexities of magic. Because you can't just simply wish something and automatically know that the wish is gonna go well, because there will be backfires. And yeah, well, and there's a lot of them. And of course, I do appreciate with this live action remake is that we got to see a little bit more depth with Jafar. Even though he's not as scary as the previous one, at least there's a little bit more reason and motive to why he behaves like this instead of, oh look, I'm a crazy magician with a weird archaic magic. But yeah, this is definitely where some concepts of it is well thought out. Again, it's not perfect, but it's something to appreciate. So overall, I feel like the Aladdin remake definitely deserves more love than the critics give it, mostly because it's just a little bit more imaginative, as well as just gives a great highlight to the Arabian culture as a whole, and giving more humanesque deals with how it's being handled. And plus, give some props to poor Smith. He really tried to handle the role, and it was a very big role.
True. Will Smith is pretty high up in terms of energy.
So many of you have remembered about the Jungle Book. Basically, you all can recall of how it just focuses on Richard Kipling's novel, where it talks about a young boy who goes through the jungle and has wild adventures with, of course, animals. So the story kicks off with Mowgli being raised by wolves. No, literally, the wolves take him in ever since he was a baby, thanks to the help of Bagheera, the Black Panther. Anyway, he definitely is a bit of an oddball amongst the pack, but still loved by his mother. As well as that, now Shere Khan coming into play, the most feared tiger in India, the equivalent of a lion who is king of the African plains. They all fear him, and they feel like they have to get the man cub out of his jungle before all hell breaks loose. And Shere Khan was not above of killing the lead pack member of the group. This results in Mowgli having no choice but to leave the jungle. But one of the things I like about this movie is how they display the emotions of the animals in a way where they still hold the anatomy, but also show emotion to it compared to the 2019 version of The Lion King. You could still feel the genuine sorrow in the wolves, even though they couldn't express much facial expressions, because these are supposed to be wolves, not cartoons like you'd see in Zootopia. Anyway, one of the things that made this movie great is the face-off. All the animals of the jungle were finally facing off to Shere Khan, trying to remind this villain that even though he's a powerful tiger, does not mean he has the automatic right to rule over the jungle, as well as it shows the strong character Mowgli has over the tiger. No matter how fierce the tiger is, Mowgli shows of how much he unites the animals through his ingenuity as well as his kindness. His humanity was something that saved the jungle, which is why I felt like it was so important to talk about in this version of the Jungle Book. Ah yes, the enchanting story about Cinderella. It's been seen multiple times in different versions and different concepts of the retelling, but I still appreciate this version a lot, mostly because we got to learn a bit more about what Ella's life was like. So, in the beginning, we definitely see of how Ella used to have her mother, while in the old version of the Disney Cinderella, we never got to know much about what the mother was like before she passed away. So this was definitely a pure gift that these creators had given to us, as well as the effort of showing up more about Ella's kindness to everyone around her, especially her vain, if no good, stepmother.
Boo! Stepmothers are the worst!
One of the things that made this villain interesting was her backstory. At first she married someone for love, but then misfortune happened to her twice, so she has to try to do everything she can to support her daughters. However, the way Lady Remain handles it is nothing short of cruel and unspeakable. I mean, yes, everyone goes through that sort of crap as she did, but that doesn't exactly excuse her for taking that sort of stuff on Cinderella. I mean, Ella has been through a lot of loss, and her sisters are the stepsisters are definitely not making things any beneficial. Definitely showing more of their ugliest, and even though they are claimed to be beautiful, which I highly doubt it, they're basically ugly as sin. But it also shows that this Lady Germain is not above using any conniving tactic as well as manipulating and conspiring with the Duke. As for the prince, bless his heart, we definitely see more of his character than just some handsome face. He is also a kind soul who tries his best to do what is best for the kingdom, though he wants to have his own say at things, which is even a bigger appreciation of this movie. It definitely helps flesh out more of Cinderella's relationship with the prince, as well as showing more side to the prince, as well as the relationship with the father. Overall, I feel like this version of Cinderella is definitely one to cherish because it definitely shows of what it means to be kind, as well as expressing it in a very bright and imaginative way with more advanced technology when done right. And Cinderella's hidden strength definitely is portrayed in a way where we have some sense of respect for her. She definitely shows that she's kind to others, no matter how cruel they are, as well as whether or not they deserved that kindness. Cinderella is definitely, and this movie definitely gives us more respect to Cinderella in this movie. Now bear in mind, I'm not doing this list because, hey, will you cut that out? Yes, I do recognize there are some issues with this movie, usually just how Gaston is a bit handled. However, there are some good pointers which I feel like should have been recognized and given more credit than we originally perceived. You see, we have a little bit more depth to the concept of a curse. You see, we already know of how it already happened, especially in the old version of Beauty and the Beast. However, with this one, we definitely see more about how the curse works, as well as we got to see more of the relationship being fleshed out between Belle and Beast. True, it definitely comes off a little stale, but at least in some ways it definitely shows that the relationship is a little bit more popped out, as well as just Beast and Belle recognizing their relationship and coming to have a better understanding, as well as showing some passions which we never were able to see due to time reasons. And also, we have a little bit more explanation of the curse, like with this castle, for instance. No one bothered to question about that.
Right, like, with the castle, everyone didn't bother questioning it. I can almost imagine the conversation. Hey Joe, since when did we ever recall having a castle in the French countryside? I don't know. That's a good question. I guess maybe because of all the brush we forgot about it?
Another thing about the curse that the movie had addressed is the stakes that are placed on the servants. I mean, the beast would be permanently a beast for all time as the story went. However, with this curse, it definitely feels like it's more of higher stakes, with the castle not only crumbling, but the servants are running the risk of being permanently turned to antiques, like non-living objects. This definitely hides the risk of being gone forever from this world. And again, Evermore definitely highlights the relationship that Belle and Beast had, and that Beast was beginning to respect Belle more as an individual with thoughts and feelings, and losing her was probably the most painful thing he's ever done, but he felt like it was a necessary sacrifice. As well as I appreciate that they're putting more effort into Belle's backstory of how she lost her mother, as well as more into the concept of France. Oh yes, Cinnamon. The number one best live action remake is Pete's Dragon, and here's why. There's just so many wholesome moments with this, as well as just the design for Pete, the story behind it reaching to a modern day feel, as well as tackling some special issues such as loss, belonging, and also a little bit of some environmental issues. Pay attention to it, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, Pete definitely has a strong friendship with Elliot ever since his parents died in a tragic accident since he was 5 or 4. Anyway, he has been in the woods for a very long time and enjoys being one with nature, as well as having his friendship with Elliot, which really is a very soft dragon and a very good design. If you think about it, not as great. I mean, it's probably a bit better than Raya's Last Dragon deal. Anyway, one day, Pete is soon discovered by a bunch of humans after an accidental encounter, and thus got captured in the process while Elliot wasn't away. But while being in the company of these humans, such as this park ranger here, he soon finds himself in a whole new world that makes him feel torn with two. You see, he wants to be with the humans, but sadly some of these humans want to destroy the forest that they reside in. It's a logging company. I'm not saying logging companies are bad, it's just this one has a tendency to take in more wood than they should. Anyway, this results in an all-out battle to save Elliot, as he soon reveals himself to the lumberjack, or the lumberjack's greedy brother, who tries to sell him off. And by then, Pete and the others try to save Elliot, set him free, before he does something very violent and ends in total tragedy. But it's not without a very sad, if not very depressing goodbye. And I will not lie, I actually heard several people in the theaters crying on these emotional moments. With such strong emotional characterization, as well as a great character development for Pete, not only that, but also allowing for this dragon to seem natural without some of that odd nonsense as the old Pete's dragon has, I feel like this deserves such a number one deal, because it's probably gonna be one of the few Disney remakes that could ever evoke emotions toward us, very positive ones at that, as well as convey such a strong story with a very modern flow to it. And that's why Pete's Dragon is number one. Well folks, this is it. This is Dragon Videos ready to sign off. Remember to subscribe, do a like, as well as feel free to comment of what live-action Disney remake you liked the best, and let's hope that the future remakes will be a little bit better than what we're being presented. This is Dragon Videos, signing off.